Hi and hello, sports fans. Welcome to a brand new episode, belated though it is. There's Eddie Spaghetti in his usual spot behind the glass. There's Kevin Hench seated high atop show business. Thank you for encouraging us to keep kibitzing with each other. We do it in part because of your messages. Where's Shek Show? Where's the new episode already? We got to hear Hench's thoughts on this, Spaghetti's thoughts on that. So now we're doing it. Of course, we love doing it. We just have a hard time scheduling it. Kevin Hench, like I just mentioned, one of the great showrunners in show business, just wrapping a second season of Shifting Gears. Muzzle tough to him. Eddie Spaghetti, muzzle tough to him as well as he starts a new job. That's been part of the reason we haven't been able to spin as regularly as we would like. Congrats, like I say to him. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all the rest of it to you. Now, let's talk about sports for a few minutes, shall we? How are you, Kevin Hench? Where do we begin? Since last we talked, I'm now out of our fantasy league playoffs. The college football playoff is just about to kick off at the time of this recording. The Indiana Hoosiers didn't just make it for a second straight year. They're the number one seed. Eddie Spaghetti, I don't know if you heard, Notre Dame didn't make it at all.
Oh, all right. We're starting
Ooh,
this. Okay.
uncomfortable, uncomfortable. Anyhow, the Red Sox are trying to sign some guys. The Yankees are trying to do something. The Pirates are pretending that they might sign people, even though, come on, they're not really going to spend enough money to sign anybody worthwhile. Hench, how are you, fella?
Well, I'm good and excited for the holidays. All good in my hood with the fam. I, you know, I my reason for being when it comes to college football is my pathological hatred of Alabama. So that's the every I don't have a team. It's like, as a Boston sports fan, you're like, I don't know, Boston College. Is that I'm going to root for Boston College? University of Vermont didn't have a football team. Only,
Given your age, I would think that Doug Flutie's Golden Eagles would have
but
appealed to
what
you,
I mean,
no?
like, but literally, are you going to watch Boston College football? Of course not. So my rooting interest every weekend is who's playing Alabama, and then it's like it's great. It's like, okay, they lose to a super shitty 5-7 Florida State team to start the season. They
That's the
they,
number one. Before you
they
move on, I just have to say
so
the most critical evidence out there for this whole nonsense called the 12 team playoff is that Alabama made it and they lost by 2 touchdowns to the bum team known as Florida State. Continue.
so that's how they start the season, and then they bookend the season by getting their asses handed to them by Georgia in a game they had -3 yards rushing. So, and then in between those two losses, they lost the third game. So they have 3 losses. And like, if you're watching, this thing of like, hey man, you can't punish a team for being in their conference title game. Can you punish them for fucking being terrible? Like, can you punish them for failing the eyeball test utterly? Like -3 yards rushing in a meaningful game. Like, so obviously, well, people are like, well, but they were ranked here during the thing. It's like, yeah, that's bullshit too. They climbed way too fast after that Florida State loss. They got right back to, like, people were like, like they won that game. Like, it was totally insane. So you're like, if you are the committee and everybody knows, guys, we're in the bag for Alabama. That's our reputation, is that Alabama is held to a different standard than everybody else. Obviously, the one thing we have to start our meeting with is 3-loss, -3 yard rushing Alabama cannot go to the playoff. Like, that should be like, I would be the juror that would just I would flip the conference I would throw the conference table over. I'd be like, if another one of you fucking cocksuckers mentions Alabama in the playoff, I will fucking shut it down. We will not issue a playoff. I will set this room on fire. Stop talking about Alabama. They lost 3 games. They got fucking whipped by a 5-7 Florida State team. They did not show up against Georgia, and it's like they figured out, like, we gotta get our team in there. We gotta get our team in there. And so it's like, and so to me, thinking about poor Spaghetti and his fighting Irish, who, by the way, Like, they almost won the national championship last year. Like, if any team, like that team could win the national championship. Alabama is not going to win the national championship.
That's not the measure, though. As
Disagree.
I will remind you,
Disagree.
I
Because
mean, what are we?
the measure,
No,
the
no, no,
measure.
no, 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 no. Let me just say,
Uh,
the measure that had to be rejected a quarter century ago. Now, the insistence on a 2 team, then a 4 team, now a 12 team, and eventually 16, and who knows how big it'll get is. These debates are unsatisfying. That team's better than that team was. You know who that was okay with? Dave. Dave liked that just fine. That on as night fell on January 1, you would collectively, as a football loving community, and then helmed by the voters, would arrive at a pretty satisfying decision 9 times out of 10. Not every time, but most time you would say, like, all right, we all know Nebraska's the best team in the country now that we've seen the bowl games in addition to the regular season, and that's that. But that wasn't good enough for everybody. So we had to have a playoff, just like every other sport does, washing away the one thing that made it unique versus every other sport out there. We have to have a playoff. So now we cannot fall back on, yeah, but Notre Dame would beat Indiana if they played. By the way, can I tell you something too? Early on in this conversation, I think that Notre Dame probably would lean on Indiana and be able to beat them. That's not the measure. I didn't come up with that. That's the insistence on a playoff that we have to have it. I would be more
but that's
happy to
washed.
go back to 1994.
That's washed away now because it literally is decided by guys in a boardroom. So that's the problem now. So I do.
It always was. That's my point. All this thing we had to get away from is exactly where we are now. With people debating who's the better team.
There is no clear cut measure as to how you can get in there. Like outside of like the winning the conference, but it doesn't even matter because most teams in the playoffs didn't win their conference anyway. So it's like, to me, if they went with the old the BCS method, like Notre Dame is in and like easily, like they are one of the top teams, they would be ranked super high in this stupid playoff.
In what world are Notre Dame's 2 losses, that those 2 losses to those teams, is worse than Alabama's 3 losses?
Like, it's insane that they are not in and Bama is. I will argue that all day.
So it's like, it's like there's this criteria for all the teams that aren't Alabama. There's this criteria over here. And then for Alabama, there's a special criteria. Anyway, that's right. Kind of old news. So I did want to give my condolences and rage on behalf of Spaghetti and the Irish, because it's just another fucking blemish, just as the it's not just that they're dumb. They're immoral. They're corrupt. They're dishonest. Like that. You can't look at those 2 seasons and tell me that Alabama belongs in the playoff and Notre Dame doesn't. It's just
there's an asterisk on this college football season.
It's just a lie. Anyway, but let's talk about. We can talk about the NFL or our fantasy league.
All right, we'll do that. I want Spaghetti can have the floor if he wants it to complain.
I'm not gonna. Hench is right. Like it's kind of old news. Like I don't want to. Everyone has said everything already, but I will add. Like I personally, I don't think this is a legitimate college football playoff. I think when you remove a team that could actually win it based on any metric, you look at ESPN, who owns the stupid the playoff, like their FPI, like Notre Dame was the 3rd ranked team. Like you look at like when you have Greg Sankey, who runs the SEC, saying that there should have been 7 SEC teams in this playoff, and it's like you have the guy that runs the committee is the AD, the athletic director of Arkansas, who Notre Dame destroyed their program also this season, which I wonder if played a factor. And then the ACC network, which ESPN owns, and they're showing the game over and over again, like with the Miami beating Notre Dame in Week 1 on August 31st in the rain for 19-year-old CJ Carr's first start, where Den Brock was only calling screens, like how he's become a way better player. And again, like they're getting robbed by A&M, another SEC team, because of a bad holding call. They don't show that. They don't replay the Alabama FSU loss game. They don't want to show that on their SEC network or their ACC network. And I just think now it's worse than boxing. It's worse than WWE. You can't say you're a true national champion because I'm sure these teams are so happy they don't have to worry about playing Notre Dame, because I do truly think that Notre Dame would be like a lock for at least a Final Four appearance again this year.
I think it would come down to Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame to win it all. I don't think Indiana can win 3 games against heavyweight teams, but I hope to be proven wrong on that. Sure. The thing I'll say is this about it. I keep the desperate need. This is garbage. We can't keep using this ridiculous bowl system to do it. As I say, the goal is, in many things in life, creatively certainly, is to stand out from the pack. College football had that advantage over all the other sports because it was distinctive in the way it evaluated those things. Now they're just part of the same unsatisfying process of too many teams in a postseason tournament that every other sport that we watch is plagued by. And if you the irony is, so if you don't love the old bowl system, and I can tick through what New Year's Day would look like, and I think we would all swoon if we were college football fans, which we are. But okay, let's go to the early portion of this millennium. Instead of 12 teams, and I agree 100%. Bama making it is ridiculous over Notre Dame. To me, Miami, head-to-head, you must put them in over Notre Dame.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, well I mean, I don't know what other measurement you would choose.
But why is it between those two teams for head to head? That's what I don't understand. Why not?
Because of where they stand once you get through all
Miami's
the
only
Miami's
only claim to the playoff is beating Notre Dame. So it's
they did beat them. I mean, they beat them head to head and have the same record. What other measurement?
Florida State's got to be in.
No.
Maybe Alabama
sucks overall. Miami doesn't suck overall. That's the
Miami
point.
Had 2 bad losses.
This is why I missed you guys so much. I go, man. Hey, look. Obviously, everybody's already weighed in on this college football playoff. Let's not dedicate that much time to it. And then Spaghetti goes, "Come on, Shek. It is old news." And then Shek's response to both of us agreeing this is fucking old news. Shek goes, "Let's go back to the early part of the millennium." No, let's talk about something that's fucking
okay. Well, let me just say this. I'm projecting a better near future, which would have been this. Here, I'm like, and what everybody wants is, and everybody's avoiding is, it's right out there in front of you. Who cares about Miami and Notre Dame and Alabama, and who's going to end up getting the short stick? Is not Notre Dame or Alabama. It's going to be James Madison and Tulane. They're going to be like, ultimately, we belong. They're the ones who are the interlopers. Let's get rid of them and we'll all be happy. That's the way it goes in our elitist society. But the other, the straightforward solution is that everybody would be like, oh yeah, that is what would achieve a true national champion. Georgia, Indiana, all the marbles. Who would argue? No one has a claim beyond either one of those two teams at this point. Just have those two teams play. I don't care what bowl you assign it to, what corn chip sponsors it. Let's just do that, and then we'll be satisfied. Now, let's move on to the next thing. Go ahead, Hench.
Well,
you raised a finger like you had something to say.
Well, I raised a finger because I was like, what I was signaling was Spaghetti. Don't say anything. Meaning don't let Shek think we are still going to be talking about this. Then his fire will burn out eventually.
Are you struck by the fact that I'm like, I don't know if this makes me, selfless or whatever, but my team, you understand, is the number 1 seed. I don't care about this tournament.
I know. What's ironic about this tournament that you don't care about is I know everyone felt it that losing that game gives Ohio State a better chance of winning it all, right? That's the proverbial good loss. You're not gonna,
right. Probably
Indiana's not going to beat them again. That's not going to happen.
They may not, but the Indiana's defense, I will give them. I mean, obviously Mendoza's getting the lion's share of like the buzz and winning the Heisman. I'm not, deserved or not, whatever. Indiana's defense, that's a defense. So that's my 2 cents on that team.
Right, and they're physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and I think it's hysterical that Fernando can't go two sentences without mentioning his Lord, which I think if that extends into the film room, his conversations with Kurt Signetti have got to be hysterical. What do those two talk about? I assume they just focus on football, like because there's nothing else that they would agree on, like what movies they must like. They sardonic Coach Sig talking to Fernando about the Lord is probably not something that happens. I think it's all hysterical. Now, do you think there's any chance to connect the dots into pro football or connect the line? Do you think there's any way that Kurt Signetti, I guess the way to ask this is Kurt Signetti an appealing option to you as a New York Giants football fan, Eddie Spaghetti? He is not for
No.
any football team I root for in the
No,
NFL.
you could kind of tell when guys could make the jump. I think he's meant for college. I think Marcus Freeman's definitely made for college, and I'd rather Notre Dame succeed
Ah.
than him go over to the Giants. So those two guys are like the hot names, but I don't like it's like what to come to the Giants to see Jackson Dart play less games than Cam Scatterbo because he's still diving with his head. It's just like the team is a mess. They have to get rid of Joe Shane. I mean, I right now I'm probably the most negative sports mindset of my life. Obviously, we just talked about Notre Dame. I will not be watching a single game of the college football playoff, and as far as I'm concerned, it is asterisk. The Yankees, it's the hot stove season. Stove's still off. Crying about being cash poor. You're the New York Yankees, and you're saying you can't spend over $300 million. It's unbelievable. The Rangers have more home shutout losses than home wins, so that's always a good thing. But hey,
The only thing that makes me feel better about the state of the Penguins, which started out nice, but in the last few weeks has gotten pretty dire.
I hate the teams that play there. I shouldn't say teams. I should say in credit to the Knicks for winning the very very special and important Emirates NBA Cup in
Oh no.
December. So
Oh
that's
no.
my sports life. I'm completely miserable.
Hench, you are in the midst, for all the doom and gloom, in the midst of in pursuit of a fantasy title here. Um, Give us a sense of how
Well,
you're feeling as we head into the semifinal weekend.
it's funny, to see. I'm playing the Dutch Mook in my semi, and Simmons is going up against Ham and Trevor in his semi, but it kind of ended on Thursday night. Puka, Simmons just got Puka'd on Thursday night, and his kicker, who I think put up 24 against you in the quarterfinals, put up 2. So first of all, we got to get rid of kickers next year.
We got to get rid of the kickers is the big takeaway.
It's so random. So, you lose to Simmons. I mean, your kicker had a big game too, but like you lose to Simmons in part because Myers scores 24 for the Seahawks against the Colts in a game
against Fat Phil Rivers, which is a disgrace. If you're going to beat him, then hammer him. If you have to,
I lost. That was my biggest gambling loss of the year. Was all the variations I did on obviously Seattle's going to crush Phil Rivers. They did not blitz him once. Like he can't move, and you rushed for the whole game, and you let him dink and dunk enough so that they lost. They didn't just cover the spread. I mean, I teased it all the way down to 4.5 anyway. But so Myers scores 24 against you in the quarters, and then scores 2 against Ham and Trev in the semis. And we've all had this happen in fantasy where, as you want the team your kicker's on to bog down in the red zone. Now everyone goes for it. So you're like, all right, there's 3 points. That's almost a touchdown pass. You're going to get 3 points. So you're like, 4th and 5. What you're going? Like everyone goes for it. So then Simmons Seattle gets 2 touchdowns. Simmons gets 2 extra points. Then very quickly it's 30-14. Oh, you're not even going to get extra points. Once you're down 16, it's like these are going to be 2-point conversions. Like he's going to get 2 points anyway. So the kicker thing is totally random. The Puka thing, I'm asking my buddy who's very into the NFL draft. He knows every player on every team. He's like, I remember our draft night. He's like, oh, I wanted Kyle Mananji. I'm like, who are you? I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, that guy's going to be good. I'm like, wow, that guy is good. I didn't know his name, but like, so Puka went in the 5th round. I'm pretty sure, Mike Hall of Fame, Mike Webster, Steelers center, Mike Webster went in the 5th round, but I think Puka is separating from the pack in terms of all-time 5th rounder. Like, I mean, Brady's Brady in the 6th round, obviously, but even Brady, you're like, okay, you can, if you're cerebral, there are things you can do with your mind as a quarterback that might make up for physical shortcomings, a huge arm or mobility. You're just smart. If you're a wide receiver, you just have to be physical. Like, you can't, there's no like, oh, he was so smart, he got open. It's like Puka gets open, catches everything, trucks corners, then he pulls away. He ran a 4.57 at the combine, but he ran he got up to 20.06 miles per hour in the fast twitch stuff. And I think that's the new metric. Look for guys who are slow in the 40, but quick in the shuttle, like guys who can get open. Right. And now it's like Puka is going to have as many catches in his first 3 seasons as Lynn Swann had in his career. So I don't like it's so crazy that to watch your fantasy season, as Simmons did, end on Thursday night. Now,
no. That, first of all, it's there's something weird about the timeline for Puka, because you would say, oh, the reason he fell in the draft is because he had some troubling social media activity, except that the troubling social media activity is this week, before and after the game.
Well, did you catch the Rams?
Like, Puka, did you not understand that it was bad doing the anti-Semitic thing? Like, you immediately have a good game, like that. If anybody within the sound of my voice had any doubt that these guys are fed their apologies by a publicist, that should lay bare the reality. Like, I have to apologize that I am not anti-Semitic or anything else. And then you immediately start another completely different firestorm on a professional level, interacting with referees because you didn't like the call. I completely agree with you. For all the talk about Tom Brady, which is now, 27 years ago, whatever it is now, that this still happens. How did Puka Nacua slip through the cracks is just, it's unfathomable, which is a word that is the English word that I have the hardest time saying. Unfathomable. I think that the big takeaway is weirdly what we were talking about a few minutes ago about college football, the effect of like, yeah, but that Notre Dame would beat Tulane, and so therefore they should be in. This thing about that everybody's doing as soon as that game ended on Thursday night, well, the Rams are still better, and so they're in good shape come the playoffs. No, they're not, because they're going to now have to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. And as we've discussed endlessly here and elsewhere, that is very hard to do in this century of football. If you have, what would you rather have? To win the coin flip twice or to win it 3 times? Which would you prefer to get where you want to go? Like, obviously, now they have to go on the road. Good luck. They might be better. Doesn't mean that they're going to win 3 games.
Well, it's crazy because the Rams were so much better than the Seahawks Thursday night.
Yes.
I mean, it was like it to the eye on the stat sheet. Like, this game was not close, obviously. So I mean, sometimes you have to wait for the nerds to tell you, but like, I'm like, there's never been a game in NFL history where a team had 166 more total yards and +3 in the turnover battle and lost. I don't have to, no one has to tell me that that's never happened. You completely dominated the line of scrimmage and the turnover battle, and you lost. And then it's like, well, why did they lose? Here's why they lost. They lost 4 points on a completely bullshit phantom illegal man downfield call. Like, literally, like the ref obviously just saw the guy after the play. Like, he's like, oh, that guy is too far downfield. If the ref had seen any of the engagement with the defender, they would have gone, oh, he drove the defender, and then the defender matadored it at the last second to make it, which, by the way, now you should coach that. Hey, if you get driven 5 yards off the ball, jump out of the way and make him look alone in the end zone. So that was a terrible call. That's 4 points. And the thing where you can go, all the whistles are blowing and it's an incomplete pass and everyone stops, but we're going to say it was a clear recovery. Like, oh, that guy leaned over to give the ball to the ref. You're calling that a clean recovery on the 2-point conversion. So that's, now we're up to 6 points. And then the fat kicker, missed a not a chip shot, but certainly one that nobody misses in the NFL anymore. So obviously the Rams, that game had no business going to overtime. And then Darnold sort of overcame a rough night with 4 excellent throws on that drive, obviously. But I had the takeaway that you're complaining about, which is now you get a better price on the Rams. You're obviously, because of the math, you're going to get a better price on the Rams. The Seahawks, who I already have a good price on going to the Super Bowl, of course I'm delighted if they can win out and be the 1 seed, but I have zero belief in them. I mean,
well, you know what's the Notre Dame of it with the NFC is that let's see how Sunday goes up in Detroit. But if the Lions take care of Pittsburgh to the degree I think they will, which is by about 10, if they do that, after how they looked offensively, at least last week, don't they kind of, I know they lost, but still, don't they kind of take on that thing of like, ooh, good thing the Lions aren't going to make the playoffs because they might run through the whole NFC if they do, kind of vibe. Although if they beat Pittsburgh, then I guess they improve their chances of doing it. But as it stands now, the Rams seem like, boy, that's almost impossible. Teams don't win 3 road games. It happens once every decade to give you evidence like it can happen, but it's near impossible to do. But then who is the pick out of the NFC? The Seahawks? I guess if you have 2 home games and that stadium as loud as it can get, but I don't buy the Packers. I don't buy the Niners. The Eagles? Is that who's left now? Do we have to buy the Eagles? Because I don't like the Rams going into Philly at this point and assuming that they would win that one. I think the team that we're kind of weirdly sleeping on is the reigning champs, is my point.
Well, the Eagles defense, I mean, obviously a shutout against the Raiders doesn't mean that much, but it was awesome against the Chargers in a game that Jalen Hurts just handed to the Chargers with 5 turnovers. Their defense was just getting after it and should have won, so if the Eagles, I mean, again, Hurts, Barkley, and A.J. Brown, you should be able to move the ball. And if your defense is awesome, I do think people are sleeping on the Eagles because they've looked so intermittently mediocre with the Super Bowl hangover. But the Rams are so good in all phases. Like, that team is good. Darnold, does he like just lock on to a guy who's bracketed and then wait for him to, like, you gotta move your eyes, man. Like, you can't take a sack here, and it's like he's waiting for something that doesn't come. And then it's like sometimes you got to throw the guy open. You just got to throw him open. You can't, it's not 7-on-7. You can't, guys might not be open. You got to put it on the back shoulder. And I mean, and Stafford has just aged into this, like, the things that he does where, like, there's a 3rd and 7 last night where they ran a screen because they're like, we just don't trust Darnold. We're not going to wait for the receivers to get to the sticks because we don't trust him. Stafford drops back. The safety, understandably, drops down onto the Nacua cross, and a guy I've never heard of runs down the seam, and Stafford holds the ball, takes a hit, and delivers a 45-yard strike. Like, it's like he's better than he's ever been. It's so crazy, at the only position that matters, how much better Stafford is than the other quarterbacks in the NFC.
It is amazing, and it kind of aligns with why Phil Rivers. I mean, embarrassing if you focus in on the way his body moves and everything. The end result is like, yeah, we always talk about Frank Gore, why he was able to survive as long as he did, because he never relied on high twitch athleticism, and that's sort of Phil Rivers and also Matthew Stafford to a degree. Like, you couldn't drop Ben Roethlisberger or Cam Newton at 45 out there and expect them to do anything, because they depended on their rare athleticism more than those guys do. Yeah, Darnold's a weird guy because he's got some like Geno Smith, which is, and I know that Darnold was largely great with KOC last year, but still his virtue as a thrower is downfield. And some of those guys, like, and that's Geno Smith too. It's weird. You would think, well, that's the thing that you can't learn. You can't learn to have a whip like that. But it is that taking the easy throws thing and all that kind of stuff that I guess some guys just never fully master. Like Brady, all the jokes about how he's a terrible broadcaster. The one thing that he says all the time, if you kind of listen, he's like, just that guy's open right there. Just throw it to him. Just like, go back and watch the Super Bowl against the Falcons or against the Seahawks. A lot of those throws are like he's a hero at the end because he makes pedestrian throws that are available to him, where other hero type quarterbacks are trying to push the ball a little bit.
Did you hear that? It's just like a 2-minute clip that was making the rounds of Brady talking about the Patriots lost their QB coach tragically, like in his rookie year, and then Belichick just took over the QB coaching duties, and Belichick would sit down and he'd go, okay, this is cover 2. Here's what's going to be open against cover 2. Here's how this team plays cover 2. Here's what's different. Here's how this individual player plays press coverage. Like, he downloaded all of his defensive genius to the quarterbacks, which is like, yeah, that's what you want to know. Hey, man, when the ball is snapped, what are all these guys going to do? Like, that's a big advantage. I know what guys are going to do, but even as Brady was explaining what Belichick was downloading, the volume of information Belichick was hoping his quarterbacks could digest and then, implement in game speed action, you're like, oh, you got to be a pretty smart motherfucker to go, oh, I got it, coach. So when this team plays the shell, I can do this. And so Brady, this is the advantage where, the coach can only do so much. The guy who comes to the line of scrimmage and goes, well, that guy can't cover Edelman. The play was going to go over here, but I know he's going to whip him immediately. So now the play's going over here and we're just going to get 8 yards on first down. That kind of cyborg thing where you can't take everything away. Now, ironically, what Belichick was great at was like, hey, Chiefs, Tyreek Hill's not going to beat us. So good luck, good luck with the other stuff. Maybe you'll beat us, but this guy's not going to have 9 catches for 250 yards. So with Devontae Adams out, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the big factor. Everybody's going to have injuries.
Free. He's wide open. Like,
right. If you assume Adams and Puka and Stafford are all right, plus they can beat you up on the ground. I agree. I think the Rams are great. I can't believe that they lost that game. At any point, obviously with 8.5 minutes left, you assume they're going to win. But when Nacua breaks free on the last play of the third quarter, you're like, well, the game is over. It's I think what was it? It was I think it was 9 points in the Rams' favor at that point, and Nacua gets tackled at the 1. So you're like, well, that's the end of that game. And I wish I had the Penguins game to go to, but they're getting shut out by the mighty Ottawa Senators right now, so I have nothing to turn my channel to. But right at that moment, it's like, how did the Rams lose that game? And then that reminds me, and this is cold comfort because you now likely again have to win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl, Rams, and there's no unringing that bell. But what is true in this era among the best teams that wasn't true even 15 years ago is that the heavyweights lose games that they just shouldn't be losing. You might, you know, in 1994, the Niners didn't go undefeated. Um, and the Cowboys didn't go undefeated. But they didn't, I'm pretty sure without looking, they didn't lose any games by 20. And they didn't blow, 17-point leads and stuff like that. It just didn't happen to the real heavyweight true contenders. It just does now. It just does now. And it's like, well, how do you accommodate for that in your brain as the playoffs start? Like the Rams blew that game that they had locked up with 8 minutes to go, but don't worry about that.
So to your point about teams that used to not blow leads. So when the Patriots went up 21-0 on the Bills, I was feeling pretty good bouncing around.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
And then they gacked it. Although a couple of really, really dubious calls in that one. But they had won 120 straight games leading by 17 or more at home. And like now, last night it was a 16-point lead, but like now, we just are. It's a little bit like the NBA with the 3-pointer. Like for some reason, it's like, oh, that's not that big a lead. Like and so that's Sunday. That was rough on Sunday because I don't know how you guys. I'm sure it's like not maybe now with the Giants being so shitty, but like basically, I'm like my number one priority is my team. Is the Patriots, right? And then my number two priority
your
is
family
fantasy team.
Okay.
I'll get to family.
No, family 3.
Yeah,
no. Your faith is. I know your faith is very important to you, so that has to be out of family too. 3
is probably just general gambling, and then 4 is the ZFL Picks League. But I was just. In addition, the Patriots blowing that 21-point lead just started a Sunday of horrors, just horrible Sunday of losing across the board.
Don't tell me about your bad Sunday. Don't do it. Okay. I don't want to hear about your bad weekend. Eddie Spaghetti, get ready for this. I know nobody cares about anybody else's fantasy teams, but I have to tell you this story very quickly.
You want me to just do my Rams quick Puka thought before you guys just switched over to the fantasy? It's up to you.
You're going to defend his anti-Semitism, I guess. Fine,
not
go ahead. It's Christmas. Go ahead.
I will defend his anti-ref stance, which I can't believe we're not taking more time on, especially with that egregious play. And as I said before, I hate sports now. This is the darkest sports moment of my life. Come back home last night, my dad's like, "Oh, this is a great game. Let's like watch the end of this game after my flight." I'm like, "Awesome! What a comeback!" You're saying, "Can the Rams win on the road? They're winning this game in the toughest environment in the NFC." I'm like, this may be the team. Like they're passing the test without Devontae Adams. And then like that play, happens, and then you see like what Puka says after like he deletes his tweet saying like his first comments were that they want to be superstars, they're not even full time, and then he says like, "Yeah, you see what I mean," basically in his tweet. And I'm like, when the whistle is blown in sports, not even football, just sports, that is it. That is the end of the play. And then now you have like Terry McAuley and other guys like online defending it, being like, "Well, no, the ball does this and it's an emotion." It's like I know football pretty well. We all do. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of anything being like the whistle becomes irrelevant when that happens. And I'm like, this is why I hate sports now, because stuff like this happens. And then you have the people online, and I understand that he got himself in some hot water, Puka, but like with the ref stuff specifically, and everyone's like, "Oh, now you're attacking the refs. You're really gonna do this now. You're really like," everyone online is like, "You can't attack." I'm like, yeah, you can, because this is the league that doesn't punish them. They don't correct their mistakes. They never admit fault. They are not full time, and there's no way for them to take ownership of the issues they cause. Plus, there's no way, there's no checks and balances, because as we've talked about on this show plenty of times, there's no way, there's no rule to like, "Hey, I actually want to challenge this. Can we look at this?" And it's like, no, you actually can't challenge this. You cannot look at this. We can look at that stuff we could.
It was a perfect example of like, replay assist can do all this like instantaneous, "Oh, you guys fucked that up." But the illegal man downfield was just a whiff. We just missed it. Like that's not illegal man downfield. But we all know, but that's not something that you can help get right. And obviously the PI stuff. I don't know really though. I don't know, like Puka. I don't know what he's. I mean, he's like his big edgelord thing obviously I'm sure he's just a complete moron about all things,
I'm sure that that's the case with Puka.
but
I'm sure he had no idea what he was doing.
He's like, these refs make calls to get on TV. It's like, well, are you getting called for OPI a lot? Because if they're making calls, like, you want calls against the DBs. So my thing after that, and I assume there's got to be a fine coming down at some point, but he's like, they make calls just to get on TV. Like, it's just such an asinine, like, first of all, the guy who gets on TV is not the guy who makes calls that you're involved in. He's 20 yards from where that's the guy that gets on TV. Like, you're just such an idiot. Stop talking. Please stop talking. But beyond that, after this idiot goes on the Idiot Edgelord podcast to say these refs make calls to get on TV, if I were the Seahawks, I'd be like, hey, fucking tackle that guy every time at the line of scrimmage and see if these refs go, hey, man, I don't want to get on TV. Hey, man, I don't want to get on TV. Sorry that you got fucking mugged again and there was no call. Instead, Seattle goes, let him run free. Let him run free all night. Like, you should have been Ty Law physical with that guy all night. Bracket him, like, just hit him constantly, hit him 8 yards downfield. Let's see if they want to get on TV for that motherfucker. But instead they go, nope, we're just gonna let him do his thing.
I also think that I just thought, and I definitely want to hear about the fantasy stuff, but I also thought if he didn't go on the dumb streaming podcast, also, like, you're an athlete, there's like a tweet about this, like, athletes don't have to like lower their level and hang out with like us normal people, especially streamers, like, you're above that. But if he didn't do that, I wonder if, like, if a star player is like seriously criticizing referees, people would have been on his side and been like, yeah, you do have a point. This call was pretty bad, and the referees have not taken accountability. And then he lost any goodwill he had, and now it's just like another thing, like, lost in the ether. And the NFL continues to do the thing where they sweep it under the rug and go, no, our referees are actually perfect. Anyway,
well, it's the pressure of repercussion. I think that scares players, but you're right. I'm surprised that somebody isn't just like, I'm going to eat this. I'm surprised an NFL owner doesn't just say, like, tee off star quarterback. I'll pay you the fines or whatever. It's wild. What I like is, I mean, the paradox I think for all of us is, we like the unpredictability of sports. Everything else that we watch is scripted. All our entertainment is already completed. A live show by a band, maybe, or a stand-up doing a new 20-minute set or something like that. But for the most part, it's pretty predictable stuff. We don't know the ending to these stories that we watch. That said, I don't like just how completely random it's become. Like, the whole thing of the Seattle Seahawks 2025 is dominant defense. And boy, good luck making hay against that secondary. And then just has no value whatsoever. Like, all that predictive kind of stuff has zero value. Has that, like, Matthew Stafford is great and Puka is great, but that result just makes it just feel like we're just really just throwing crap against the wall. Like, nothing has any meaning at this point. Like, the result of that game is the result, and it has no impact on what happens next week.
I mean, nobody lit up that Ravens defense, the Ray Lewis said Reed defense. It wasn't like, oh, wow, this week they gave up 38. Like, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, can you not, like, right, St. Louis, I didn't care about either team, so it wasn't that compelling a rivalry. When the St. Louis Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Sean King were like the two chief, like one of those two teams, and they were stylistically the exact opposites. And so, boy, can the Bucs do enough on defense? Can they slow them down? And sure enough, what was the final score of that game? I can't believe I get 11-6. Yeah, whatever. Tampa could drag Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk and the greatest show on turf down into the mud and play their style, and how you were able or not to work your way around that, Steelers versus Cowboys and all of that, which style was going to win the fight, Ali versus Frazier. Now it's just like, let's just see like 38-37. Like, wait, the great defense of the Seahawks? What do we hang our hat on? It's again, I'm a curmudgeon, I guess, too, but it is kind of unsatisfying. And you just have to blur your eyes and ignore it if you're going to enjoy the playoffs, right?
It was funny because McDonald was talking about, how great the 12s were. The 12s were so great. It's like you forced 0 turnovers. You had no sacks. Like, obviously, the 12s can only impact the game when your team's on defense. Like, the stadium doesn't go nuts when they don't motivate your offense. So your defense was terrible. You're a defensive genius. You have this job because you really know that side of the ball, and your team just got trampled for 581 total yards. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. All right, tell us about your fantasy decision.
All right. I'm running through the greatest stylistic mismatches or ones that didn't align and then produced the best. I'm thinking about Cavs with LeBron against Steph Curry and those guys in 2016 was a pretty good one. You could see, like, I think the Cavs might be able to beat them up on the glass, and that might be enough for them to actually win the series. That's one that comes to mind. Anyhow, I'm sure Puck has many of those. By the way, to respond to you said that's never happened in history. Look up, I think it's whatever the year was with Tommy Maddox when he was in that bizarro year with the Steelers. I think that was 2002. Look up the game that they played against the Houston Texans, and that's the Texans' first year of existence. The numbers they are impossible to fathom, and I almost said unfathomable, but I was worried I wouldn't be able to say it. All right, but I mean, it's the craziest game result you'll ever see in your life based on how all the stats line up aside from the final score. Now, speaking of jazzing up the NFL playoffs, I brought it up to one Chris Long, who we all enjoy here on this show and has been on this show. He was on Football America with me. Check it out. Great conversation. And I brought up to him, what if at the end of the wild card, the team with the bye, the team that didn't play in wild card, got to choose who they get to play in the divisional round? Oh, it would be so much fun. Way more compelling. Now, fantasy playoff, Eddie Spaghetti. I have Darren Waller in my lineup, and I have Bijan Robinson with a very good game, as Kevin Hench said to me when we were talking after that game and before Sunday. He said, you should win that game because Bijan had 25 or whatever, but really he could have had even more. If it weren't for Kyle Pitts, he really could have had like a 40 kind of point game, and then it really would be over. But nevertheless, I'm feeling pretty good with Bijan already, in the clubhouse with 25. So I'm looking at my lineup on Sunday morning, and out here on the West Coast, it's, 9 a.m., 9:30, kickoff at 10 a.m. I'm playing Simmons. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, the guru says that Darren Waller is supposed to have a better game than Isaiah Likely, but it's frigid for the Dolphins with Darren Waller in Pittsburgh, same as it is in Cincy for Isaiah Likely. But Isaiah Likely, after that tough no touchdown against Pittsburgh the week before, and the Bengals have zero defense, and the Ravens need this one. They got to get back on track and everything. You know what? I'm yanking Darren Waller. 9:40 a.m. I swap out Darren Waller for Isaiah Likely. I lose to Bill Simmons by 10 points. Isaiah Likely gives me zero, doesn't touch the ball on Sunday. I lose by 10. Then on Monday night, all I'm thinking is I hope the Steelers win this game, and also I hope Darren Waller doesn't get 10.2 points. Darren Waller doesn't get 10.2 points. He catches 2 touchdowns and has over 20. I cost myself. Now all summer long, I got to live with the guilt of what I did to the Cool Cats spelled with 2 Ks. I'm just so sick in my balls. I don't have words for it. It's really such. I would fire the person who made that decision, but then the Cool Cats would be completely rudderless.
Well, as I said to Shek and Spaghetti, I don't know how you do these things with your fantasy team. Like when I have a coin flip, I always put the guy in who's playing against my real life team. So then you have the emotional hedge.
Mm-hmm.
If Waller scores, well, it's good for your fantasy team. It cushions the blow of him scoring against your real team.
Right.
Now I did check because I don't know where you go to for your information, but the CBS Guru and the ESPN aggregate are very different. Like if you look, like the CBS Gurus, I think the CBS Guru is all AI. I think it's just what does the defense that position is playing give up per game? What's his average, and how will that be adjusted based on the defense he's playing?
Mm-hmm.
So you get some pretty wacky differentials, whereas ESPN is all those guys rank the guys, and then you can see. So I like when I saw your gut punch on Monday, likely was ranked by the experts ahead of Waller.
Yeah,
like
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I would have said likely as well. I would have definitely went likely, because likely would have been like there's like a boomer bust guy that would have had the Darren Waller-esque game. Now you're also talking to a person that had to deal with Darren Waller being a giant and then like getting injured and then retiring. So I'm like anti Darren Waller in terms of like you just don't trust him at this stage of his career at his age. But I mean the fantasy gods were for sure cruel to you. But I think likely was the smart play for a number of reasons.
Jesus Christ! It's just the worst. It's just the worst. But Hench, you're a smart guy. Who do you think is coming up with those numbers? Like, the fantasy experts, they think Isaiah. Like, who do you think?
Can I also ask how
they know something you don't know?
Don't
look at those things. I'm never looking at it again because it makes me sick.
But I mean,
that fantasy expert said that he's going to do bad.
How scarce is tight end in your league that you're like you're starting the backup Ravens tight end though? Like, I don't like how many everyone's rostering like 2 or 3 tight ends. Is it a 14-team league?
When Joe Burrow got hurt, I had to devote roster slots to a number of QBs. And so I was rotating QBs, mostly with Matthew Stafford, though, who, by the way, what was it on Thursday night? 35 points. I would be sitting in a pretty sweet spot right now if I had Matthew Stafford's numbers. But okay, go ahead. Mitch. What were you saying?
Well, this is good because it's 2 things are good. One, we're nearing the end of the podcast, so hopefully no one's listening anymore.
Thank
because
Christ.
Now I'm going to tell my fantasy story, which is the opposite of Shek's fantasy story. So,
Oh no, you and Simmons park your cars in the same garage with the nonsense. And by the way, what do you think about before you go? So Hench has already declared that Simmons is going to lose this week because Puka put up 4 because Ham and Trevor put up 40 against him. So Simmons, we all wake up to on Friday morning an email to the full league saying, congratulations, Ham and Trevor. I'm making it to the finals. I think if you do that, that should count the same as like in golf if you're playing a match and you go like, that's good. That's good from 3 feet. That putt's good. Like he's now vacated the chance to win that game, right? If you congratulate somebody, aren't you saying like, I take it, you win from here on?
If you congratulate the other candidate, it doesn't obviate the vote. You can't say, sorry, people who voted for me. I know I won, but I conceded. So
this is because Hench, of course, is going to defend Simmons because he does the same crap. There were at least 2 or 3 texts over the course of the weekend announcing, well, now I have no chance. Brandon Aubrey missed a kick, so now I have 0 chance. Hench won by 30. He won by 30. Like, well, it's over for me. I'm done now.
No,
that's the final nail in the coffin.
Reverse jinx.
I won by 10. I won by the same margin you lost by. And thanks for asking. So this is the decision I was faced with. Ever since Chuba got benched, so like I had Gibbs and Chuba was a real nice pairing, and I came out of the gate, the house of fire, Malik Neighbors, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chuba Hubbard. I was doing great. And then Malik gets hurt out for the season and Chuba loses his job to Rico. It's like, this is not great. So since Chuba lost his job, every week I've had to start a guy who doesn't start for his team. So a lot of weeks I've started Gibbs and Montgomery, but like Montgomery's getting 6 carries a game. Like this guy coming, like he does score, but like it's like almost a Zach Crockett, situation.
Yeah, Pete Johnson, Jerome Bettis like, in the twilight, okay, right?
Hope he gets a TD. And then my other backups, Chuba as a backup, and then Mananji. How do you pronounce his name?
Manangai.
Manangai, who I did like, I would guess right. Like I had a lot of good guesses that, I'm like, maybe I'll go with Manangai. And he went nuts one week, but then week 14 or so, Pollard was just floating out there on the waiver wire. And I'm like, I think he actually starts for his team. I know Spears, I know they're splitting carry, but I think Pollard is the guy. So I pick up Pollard.
And I put in a $0 bid for him too and lost out to Hench, by the way.
So Pollard, 2 weeks ago goes berserk. But even coming off the 160-yard game, he's still, according to the guru, according to ESPN, according to Fantasy Pros, he's still predicted to have fewer points than Mananjai, Hubbard, and Montgomery. So he's ranked 4th on my, like, I got to start one of these fucking 4 guys. And I go, Fantasy Pros is my last stop where I put in the 2 names and they're like 28 out of 31 nerds say you should start Manangai over Pollard. And I'm like, I'm going to start Pollard. He starts for his team. I think that matters. And the difference between Pollard and Manangai's 3.3 points was the difference in me winning my game. So what you did at 940 to cost your team the game, I did the reverse of that, which is like, fuck these nerds. I'm going with the guy who starts for his team. And Pollard had a very nice game against the Niners, including a late garbage time touchdown, that paved the way for the Henchmen to be in the semis. And now this week against the Dutch Mook, we're pretty, it's a coin flip. It's a true coin flip, but I could only block, I had $2 more than the Dutch Mook. He had Mahomes and Darnold was his backup. So I was like, I'd be delighted if he had to start Darnold against the Rams, but Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams are both out there on the waiver wire. I could only block one of those 2 guys with my money. So I was like, I don't know. Caleb's playing at night in Chicago. I know the Packers don't have Micah, but I took Baker away from him, and he did pick up Caleb, and he is starting Caleb. And then last night, despite some real struggles, Darnold ended up with 22.2 points, which is going to be tough, I think, for Caleb to get to.
So, I would rather, I out of those 3 choices, blind, I would take Bake. I would want Bake against Carolina. I do think that they kind of now they probably regret it, but I think they probably understood looking at the schedule a month ago, like division's a wrap. And we catch Carolina twice in the last 3 weeks. And so, if anything is hanging in the balance, obviously we'll be able to take care of them and put the division away. I think Bake should light them up pretty good on Sunday. So that was a savvy play by the Henchman. I think that was, watch it go that way. Watch it go. Bake is your number 1 there. I'm not a fantasy expert now. I don't know if you want to go with that.
Would you go? Oh, I shouldn't even bring it up because then you'll sway me. Never mind.
Well, I don't want to weigh in because what if I say something that results in the other guy? Well, wait, then if you beat them because of my advice and they can't kick me out. That's the problem with giving advice. It's sort of like saying to your friend who just broke up with his girlfriend, like, I never liked her either way anyway. And by the way, no one likes her. She's a pain in the ass. And then a week later, you see that friend walking around with the girl, like, what's going on? Like, yeah, we got back together. Like, and then now you're the bad guy.
Yeah, but I know you hate her. So there was a scenario. I was like, maybe I will start Bake against Carolina, thinking it the same way you were thinking. But Dak has been really good for me, and Dak is at home, although that Chargers defense is pretty stiff. So that's my choice. Baker versus the Panthers on the road.
Unless unless the Mook, who off the top of my head, I don't know, unless he's throwing Pickens or CD at you, I think Dak is the boy. That's tough. I don't know. See, now we're really having a fantasy conversation about who you should start. Exciting stuff. All right, listen, let's get out of here then instead.
Let's get out of here.
I appreciate it if you can subscribe to Football America along with Shek Show. Eddie Spaghetti doing great work when he wants to start touting it here. You can do that. Kevin Hench, make sure you're tuning into the thriving show that is Shifting Gears. Make sure you check it out. Happy for your success on that front. Glad to see Spaghetti working and everything. We appreciate you sticking with us through all these fits and starts and trying to align our schedules. I enjoy doing it whenever we get a chance to do it. And based on the feedback we get, you guys enjoy us doing it too. So as much as we possibly can squeeze it in once every week, once every 2 weeks, once every month, that's what we'll do. And we appreciate you doing that. Final thought, because I don't think we're going to have another one before the calendar year 2025 is through, and Kevin Hench is so important that he had to go set his fantasy lineup or something because he already checked out. Spaghetti.
I mean, it's grim times for me. I guess I'm a basketball guy now. That's the only thing I have left. The NFL is screwed me. I mean,
right.
Well, college football has really screwed me, royally screwed me. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, the Yankees will make a big move, bring in Scooble or something like that. Maybe your guy Skeens, who knows? I need some positivity in the sports world because it is not fun. So I don't know. That's my piece.
The Pirates are not trading Paul Skeens, so don't worry about that. And what you might be able to get is a lightly used Chris Letang. Can I interest you in that?
I mean, what Chris Drury has done to the Rangers, who were in a relatively good position not too long ago.
It's wild. You got to remember those windows. Remember, like, it was 4 years ago that me, you, and Josh Yohe sat on this same show, and we talked about, like, how many cups in the next half decade for the Rags.
Oh.
And we arrived at, like, well, they're going to get one, but, like, do they put together a little mini dynasty there and everything? And it really does, sadly for you, not for me or anybody who roots in the Patrick division for another team, but really does feel like, man, they just missed it. They didn't even get to the final with that group.
Wasting back-to-back from Henrik Lundqvist to Igor Shesterkin, and people complain about spending the money on a goalie. It's like, well, he deserves it. But every other move that was made, letting certain guys go, just missing on draft picks, not developing your prospects, it's awful. I mean, I'm flying back, and the outdoor game is down in Miami versus the Panthers, and normally I would be like, oh my God, I could see my team play outside. I'm like, I don't even like watch the games anymore. Like what they did with Kreider, like I was rooting for the Ducks the game not too long ago, and they won the game, the Ducks. So I was like happy for them, and like they're having him and Trouba having great seasons. It's just disgusting, and it is for those out there who could listen. Like it is possible to remove just to become indifferent about teams, and once you let the hatred win, then you no longer care. So I'm like a nihilist, sports nihilist.
That's a nice message in this holiday season. Let the hate win. I like that. The only thing that's rough about the Ducks, because they're otherwise a fun watch, is I like the color orange. It's my favorite color, period. And black and orange is the best color scheme. I think not blindly. Obviously, you need the gift of sight to evaluate the best color scheme. But I think orange and black is probably the best combo to roll with. Man, I can't imagine when I was watching when I watched them or I watched the Sharks. I just think the whole time I'm looking at I can't imagine watching this team for 80 plus games a year. I wouldn't be able to stare at this. Too much. It's too much orange. And shame the devil if they ever UCLA USC it and the Ducks and the Sharks both wear their head to toe colored uniforms. They would look like the Dumb and Dumber guys standing next to each other, when they dress up in their tuxedos. That turquoise blue and that orange and head to toe, and it's cool. But after about like game 5 of looking at it, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, I'm just change our TV to black and white already. I can't keep looking at this anymore.
I do love when they wear the Mighty Ducks throwback. The teal and purple is an awesome
Oh, that's a
logo.
good look. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites ever. So I mean the all orange is very odd. But at least like the logo is kind of updated and similar to the older one. And yeah, and kudos to the Sharks for Macklin Celebrini, BU guy, #1 overall pick, only #1 overall pick that has not produced the last few years. His name is Alexi Lafreniere, and he happens to play for my team. So another thing to be upset about. It's
Untrue,
awful.
untrue, Eddie Spaghetti. Because when the Penguins just traded Tristan Jarry, everybody in Pittsburgh was dumping on him, and I said, "Listen, he deserves it for the Islander series of what was that, 21 or 22? I can't get my years screwed up. I think 21 when he pooped the bed. But then against the Rags, he was hurt, so he couldn't play until Game 7, and then he did heroically pad up and get in there and was halfway decent, and they would have won that series, the Penguins, if Lafreniere didn't knock uh, Peterson's helmet off, and then he went over to pick it up with 5 minutes left in the game, so it was a penalty, and that was that. If that doesn't happen, I think Tristan Jarry is maybe not a hero, but I think we regard him a little bit differently. But thank Jesus he's gone at least now. And a tepid end of the show because I was trying to see if there was something positive to say for either one of us. And
No,
I don't
no.
really think there is. I mean, what I say about the Hoosiers, people keep asking me, how nervous are you? Like Hoosiers about to go in #1 seed, everything. Not at all. Not at all. It's the same as when the Florida Panthers went to the final in their first season in existence. Like, what stakes are you feeling? Zero. Like maybe you get to have a party, but you're not going to be sad. This team isn't going to bum you out that they lost. I I advocate, if you're listening, Coach Sig or Fernando or anybody else, I think it's enough. Know when to quit. Like you're at the 21 table, you've won a lot. Like pick up your money and leave. That's what the Hoosiers should do. Like don't even show up. Just to be like, it's enough. We won the Heisman. We're the #1 seed. We're undefeated. We beat Ohio State head to head in the conference title game. What's going to happen from here on out? That's good. That's going to beat any of that. We're not. Do you think we're going to win? We're going to win 3 playoff games. Come on, we're not going to do that. We're just not going to show up. I think that would be a great move,
I
right?
mean, the way I look at
Let
it is
Notre Dame go. Let that they
with
can go.
with
They'll
them
take our
out,
place.
with Notre Dame removed, that's one less team you have to worry about. I mean, you already beat Ohio State, and I think Ole Miss, like they have no head coach. Oklahoma can't score an offense. Like there's a lot of bad teams. I think in this Alabama's an awful team. Like there's so many mediocre, like not worthy the 2 group of 5 schools. I mean, I don't think Miami's very good. The field is not great. This is a very strange year where everyone's like, oh, we're going to expand to 16 teams. I think there's truly only maybe 3 or 4 teams that could win the whole thing, and one of them is unfortunately not in the playoff. So I mean, yeah, like Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, like I think you guys are in the mix for sure.
I mean, okay. I listen. That'd be fun. It'd be fun to do. I intend at least to pay a visit to Pasadena on January 1. That's for sure. All right. Good times, Eddie Spaghetti. Congrats again on the new job. We'll look forward to kibitzing again on the other side of the new year. Good times, Hench. Thank you, sports fan, for sticking with us and riding along with us and reminding me and us that we need to keep spinning here because you're looking forward to it as well as we're looking forward to doing it. So until next time, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. We'll talk soon. Until then, thanks so much, sports fans. It's been a thin slice of heaven.